and it's all then is understood as having been toward this end, which is now achieved, so that we can now rest in the peace which passeth understanding. So, is there any questions? Let me explain what's happening the rest of the day. This afternoon, Michael and Cynthia, together or apart, I'm not sure, will present all kinds of things that they know best, and it will be very good, I'm sure.
I'd like to just say that a number of people have expressed interest in looking at or purchasing the Shipibo and Konibo clocks that Dennis brought back from the Amazon. So maybe this afternoon I could come early before the session and lay them out or set them out before and after the afternoon session. You can look at them, and I will transmit money to Dennis if you want to buy.
Good.
Okay, what time is it?
3:30, I think.
So I'll come at 3 or so.
I'm going to hand around, how many of you know the work of Hieronymus Bosch? Yes, well, I've been into Bosch since I was 11 years old, but very recently I came across a really astonishing book, and what's astonishing about it is that the Garden of Earthly Delights is photographed in actual size in a series of shingles, so that if we were to get 2 copies of this book and tear them both to pieces, we could reconstruct it natural size. And it is, it relates to the millennium. I don't know if I will have a chance to relate it to the millennium. It's a feast for the eyes, and I'll just hand it around and people can look at it, and it'll be up here. Let's see now. What does anybody have on their mind? You just had fair warning that if you don't have anything on your mind, you're going to get Hieronymus Bosch. So you better get cracking.
Your rap this morning struck home something we've been discussing behind the scenes for a while, is that with the pot wars and the MDMA busts and scheduling and the LSD bust, that sort of the Empire Strikes Back seems to be the place we're in right now. And the call to arms is not so much a call to a militaristic sort of arms as a call to a metaphorical arming ourselves, in the sense that if we can capture everybody's hearts and minds, that balls will follow. And I think we've got an opportunity here, especially in the psychedelic community, to really begin to move consciously in some of the directions that you describe in a rather millenarian sort of way. That, you know, we've finally got a chance to really influence ourselves and other people in the direction of moving towards unlimited space, unlimited time, unlimited resources. The ability to take the goddess into space with us instead of thinking of her as something that's planet-bound. Of, you know, that seed is within each one of us and can come along. And I think the idea of turning the Earth into a park is wonderful. But we're going to have to get off to be able to do it, because we're just too much of a burden on it as we are.
Yes, well, Gerard O'Neill has suggested that we could lift all heavy industry off the planet by 2050. This is not an unreasonable notion, you know. I mean, I'm sure that if there is a world 500 years in the future, when they look back on the 20th century, it will just be looked upon as the most unbelievably toxic period in all of the human experience. The way we look back at, say, the 14th century and say, well, you know, there were no sewers in London, people were dumping raw sewage into the street. They'll say people were dumping raw sewage into the rivers, radioactive waste into the ocean. It's amazing anybody survived it. So yes, this is, it's very true.
I think we've got 3 major advantages too. One is we have the best minds of our generation on our side. I mean, if you listen to the people who are one of us, as you put it in one context earlier, there's brilliant people working in very psychedelic ways, whether they're into the psychedelic substances or not. And we also have that opportunity to become unfettered from social convention, from narrow reality tunnels, from conventional institutions, from a closed-in way of viewing things. We were discussing fractals last night, and one of the things you see in evolution is if you're adapted beautifully to a particular kind of fractal environment and suddenly a discontinuity comes in and changes it, the premium is not on being able to understand that fractal and find your way around the Amazon, for example, beautifully, but to be able to change quickly so that when that environment changes, you do not become obsolete and extinct. So we have that on our side, the flexibility of being able to undo old ways of thinking and do new ones. And I think the biggest thing we've got is we've got women on our side. Mm-hmm. For the first time, there's a whole, the power of half of humanity has been untapped for 2,000, 5,000 years. And all of a sudden that becomes available, and in a sense we have a chance to build something that's never been seen before. It's the idea of a hero for the goddess, the idea of a female hero coming in and not being more than beating swords into plowshares, of really being able to go out and say, you know, this is what we want to do, and we can do it consciously, we can do it handily.
Yes, a superfractal analysis of history would say that when you live with primitive people like in the Amazon, what's happening is the men go out and they hunt and they kill meat and they bring it back, and when they're a little ways from the village they make a great noise and all the women come out to meet them, and at that point they hand over the meat because the meat is poisonous often until it is cooked. Okay, so that's what people do. The men go out, they get the meat, they bring it back, they give it to the women, they cook it and make it palatable and food. This is what history is. It's now time to hand over the meat. The masculine force has gone out into history, captured the noetic beast, the beast that brings understanding and control. Now, at the end of the cycle, we're coming back, and the thing captured has to be given over to the women to be cooked. And when it is cooked, then there will be the millennium. And this cycle, which is enacted over and over again in these primitive societies, is being prolonged by history to an excruciating degree. But eventually, this is what has to happen. And this cooking by the women is the alchemical transformation of a nuclear armament society into an ecologically conscious, spacefaring, humane kind of society.
Terence, I beg to differ a little bit on that. I think that division of labor is in and of itself a somewhat patriarchal remnant view. I think it's going to be much more integrated than that going forward. I mean, I think it's more than hand in hand. I think it's bound in an embrace. And I think we're all going after the meat, and I think we're all going to learn how to cook it. And that one of the things we're learning to do is to be able to do all those things. One of the things that struck me about the dance performance last night was I guess it was the third piece with the three dancers in loincloths, is the really beautiful androgyny they showed in terms of moving together with great strength without losing any of that sexual differentiation, but making it into an artistic and aesthetic statement instead of a desperate way to get twice as much work done as you could otherwise.
Well, yes, you're right. It's the feminine in each of us to which this thing has to be handed over. And certainly all these men in positions of power, this is what they have to do. They have to see that the time has changed, that it's a different place in the play, that they have to be different relative to this thing. Anyone else have any?
Well, in this millennial paradigm, there is, for its own evolution, a certain ecological problem not addressed, and I think no one likes to think about this very practical, capitalist and political aspect of things. But I would guess that if there is a future of 500 years, and if ourselves in 500 years look back at this